My name is Justin Luke Riley. That's Justin space Luke space Riley. I'm here tonight representing not only an organization that I hold near and dear called Young People in Recovery, but also the Marijuana Accountability Coalition. But even more so than organizations or titles, I'm here to do whatever I can to maybe give some people some hope and some resources and also learn about what's happening here locally. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and for me that means that since November of 2007, I haven't misused alcohol or other drugs. And for me, that's an extra big deal because since probably 8 years young to 19, I struggled with substances. I struggled with mental health issues. There was a season where my folks, and I have amazing parents, they just didn't know, how to support me. And so there was even a time where maybe they thought I was just hypoglycemic, and maybe it's sugar. I mean, we just don't know what's going on between his heart and his head and what's troubling him. A lot of people didn't have really cause for concern or understand maybe why would a guy like me, not that I'm super extraordinary, but I mean, I had great parents. I had awesome sister. I mean, she's now a doctor, so awesome, congrats. Made me look bad from a very young age because I was just a tennis instructor. But for me, looking at our family, I mean, we didn't look like, we would have, and this isn't exactly a term that we use, but I'll say it here in kind of this safe space, though it's recorded, go team, is it didn't look like they would have like a drug addict kid. I was captain of the tennis team. I got Rotary Youth Leadership Awards more than I can even remember. I was an IB, that was my sister, I was AP, and I worked since I was 14. And, we had a certain kind of family profile. And, I talk about addiction recovery specifically, whether it's marijuana, Juuls, or vaping, nicotine, and we'll get into that. It's not a casserole disease. Generally speaking, when you find out somebody in your block or in your community has cancer, people surround that house. People, they give an iPad, they get them a casserole. I mean, neighbors you've never even known you've had, right? Like they are making brownies. And here in Colorado, we have to be careful about those brownies, but that's a really good joke. But people come out of the woodworks to say, gosh, we're so sorry. Can you imagine if people said, well, they smoked like a pack of cigarettes, so who cares? It's kind of their fault. I mean, we would never say anything like that, right? I mean, you would never hear anybody say that. But when it comes to alcohol and other substances, it's not a casserole disease. People start whispering really, really quickly. Like, I thought he played tennis. Well, he teaches me lessons down at the club. Well, I thought his parents have good jobs. I thought they were good kids. They even go to mass, right? And the whispers begin. Rather than, we know today, even last year, just for kind of some facts and figures around the growth rates, we know that last year, 1 in 3 households were impacted by mental health and substance use disorders. Already this year, team is just half. So my speech used to be, 3 little pictures, 3 houses. If it isn't this house or this house, it's that one. Now if it's not you, it's your neighbor. Pick one. And that is not Colorado, that is around the entire country. And so I say that as the context because, I'm not a whisperer anyway, but we're talking to people that know that this impacts all types of families, whatever families look like for you, right? And so that's a little bit of my kind of why I do what I do. I mean, I am in long-term recovery, so go figure, I care about it. Since, being in long-term recovery, I've gotten married. I have 2 amazing children. They're like in preschool still. I don't even know how that works necessarily. But if they come here, I want them to be able to walk into a school that from the coaches to the teachers to the counselors to the parents to the other students, that we can talk about it. And I know that may sound really simple, right? And kind of how I describe communication today is it's not even an iPhone anymore. It's like just Snapchat, which you don't even need a phone for. You can just use an iPad, right? You can use an iPod Touch. And so this communication gap that we have culturally today from students to parents and just generation to generation is something that we've never seen before. But what I actually love about standing up here today is that this experience, I want to kind of bridge whether you're a student or you're a parent. Anybody in here not go to school ever? Okay, cool. So that's one thing that we have, right? Unless you've been ditching the entire time. But everybody, especially when social media wasn't the indicator of social status, this is how I felt in high school. And I didn't have, I'll age myself already a bit. We like barely had MySpace, which was like a thing. Some of you may have heard about that. But we didn't derive social value and social equity from social media. What we did is we walked around on our own personal stages. And that's at least how it felt like for me. And so anytime I played a tennis match, anytime I spoke somewhere, or just like walked through the hallways, it felt like I was on a stage just like this. Now, team, for those of you that don't now live in kind of today's era, imagine that instantaneously though. There used to be rumors that would travel. Now rumors are instant. It is an immediate effect that there's a difference between a thermostat and a thermometer, right? A thermostat sets the temperature. A thermometer tells the environment around it. And social media for kids, it is the ultimate thermometer to tell you where you stand socially immediately. And that's a pressure that I didn't even have to experience. Now I experience that professionally about like likes and like a contributed article on LinkedIn and all of those things, but that's different than our students walking around not only on a physical stage all day, or it feels like that, but it's digital. And the reason why I've set all this stuff up is because now, when we talk about vaping and Juuls, and that was a very difficult presentation to follow, it was very well done, is that I want to again kind of be cognizant of the two different gaps that we're bridging. Almost no student today would smoke a cigarette. They would tell you immediately, no, that's bad, we would never do that. There's a gap, just like between the phones with spinny things and actual even buttons, or even ones that used to flip, is you have the cigarette, which no one would ever touch. But then you have the new cigarette, which is a Juul or vaping. And that hasn't yet caught up to culture, is we don't know that those are the same things. And we actually know, because the same way that all other technology has increased, drug technology has increased, meaning vaping and Juuling it's more potent than even just your classic old cigarette, right? But those are not the messages that we get. Oh, you can't smell it, it's easy to hide, it's so small, it takes a few seconds. Of course, you know, this could be an okay thing for me to do. Or now when we look at marijuana, right? And some people may have, in here may have heard the term Woodstock weed before. You know what that is. You know that marijuana, and maybe when we were told as Coloradoans that, you know, what's wrong with a joint, right? Just one joint. And we take that example just like the cigarette and we extrapolate that around what we see as culture today. But team, that's 4 or 5% THC, the stuff that gets you high in marijuana from a joint. That was like 4 or 5% potent, right? You've got shatter and dabs, which are new fancy synthetic marijuanas, that's anywhere from 90 up to 99% THC. Some people actually call that crack weed. So the delivery mechanisms have increased, the potency mechanisms have increased, and all the pressure around our students have increased. But what I think is part of kind of a core thing that we can take action on today is the communication between these generations, parents and students, and between students. I used to be a youth pastor, and when I would call a student, silly me, on the phone to talk to them, to invite them to a youth event, like, hey, what's up? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I'm calling you to see how you're doing. What's going on? Can you just text me? Bye. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I can text you, but I was calling you because I wanted to talk to you. Sorry. Or, I actually met with a family last night, and, this young man had just struggled with a suicide and cutting attempt. And then even earlier, as I was getting snacks on the way over here, the next hurdle for them is, well, now my son's saying, now that we got through that hurdle, is he's still saying, though, that Juuling is still the only thing that works for him. Justin Luke Riley, what do I say? And I don't have to, parent to parent, I don't have to tell you how important this stuff is to fight for our kids' future. But as a usable tool, in addition to all the expertise in the room, talk. Not text, not snap, not let's do a group message, It's no. Put your phone upside down or leave it in your room, and I want to sit eyeball to eyeball with you. And I now see parents, and I am a parent, so sometimes I don't know how to explain stuff to my daughter. I get it, right? But I see parents looking almost blankly lost of how do I make this connection with my student, because my student doesn't know how to talk to me. I want them to be able to walk into a school that from the coaches to the teachers to the counselors to the parents to the other students, that we can talk about it. I want their parents on board, and if they have to talk to a counselor, I want them on board. I want their coach on board. I want everybody around them saying, you know what, there could be some consequences, but I want to know what's going on down here. I want to know what's going on in your heart. And I'm going to model and lead by example and let you know where I've been as well. And so my ask tonight and my passion and why I'm here isn't just for each and every one of you, but as I said, it's for my kids. And we live here. That's a big deal. And so I hope that you were hopefully challenged tonight and maybe affirm that you felt that type of pressure. But I don't think that you need to have judgment for it. It's half of us, yo. It's half of everybody in this room. So I know some of us have cooler cars than others, but just let it go. We all got some stuff. And so I can't tell you how grateful I am for each and every one of you, because you are sincerely helping me build a future for my kids. That's all I got.